Howdy folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're making tuna fritters. Or tuna burgers, tuna patties, whatever you want to call them. We recently did a meal that we call Poor Man's Meal, and it was a meal that you could make for less than $1 per person. And I had a ton of comments on it because folks are really struggling. They need more meals like this. I know everybody does. So I decided to see how many meals that I could come up with that you could make for $1 a person or less. And in today's economy, that is not easy. But given the times that we're in, it's kind of necessary. We're going to have to go back to the way our grandmas did it, back to the way we did it when our kids were little, and, you know, pull from those hard times. And a lot of you who are my age, you have a lot of recipes like this. You know a lot of tricks and tips for stretching your food dollar. Share those in the comments with the younger women who don't know how to cook like this. They don't know how to save. They don't know how to get by. Now, fritters are an excellent way to stretch the food that you have. We're just using 1 can of tuna, and you can still get a can of tuna for less than $1 a can just about everywhere. And on the back of a tuna can, it says that it is a single serving. We're going to make 4 servings out of this can of tuna by turning it into fritters. So that's how you do it for less than $1 a person. And I'm going to go over what you need, and then I'm going to give you some suggestions for what you might want to add. You need a can of tuna. I drained it, but I did not squeeze it to get all the water out of it. And I do use this stuff in water, but you can use what you have. You need an egg. Just 1 egg. And you need some sort of a filler. Now, this can be any kind of breadcrumbs whatsoever. If you've got some crackers that are maybe something like a Ritz, some kind of buttery cracker, that would be good. Plain saltines will work. Stale bread will work. Just dry it out in your oven or leave it sitting on the countertop to dry out. Some sort of a cheese cracker would be good. But what I'm using is cornmeal mix. And you can use plain flour. I'm using the cornmeal mix because the cornmeal kind of goes with fish. It makes a really good fish breading. Everybody likes fish and hush puppies, so the cornmeal is what I chose to use. But you can literally use any breadcrumb, and I just have 1/4 cup. That's about what you need for the single can and the egg. I'm going to start mixing these, and then I'm going to go over the other stuff you need. Go ahead and dump your tuna in there. And I do, like I said, I still have a little bit of water in mine, but not much. Drain it, but don't squeeze it. I'll get that all out. And I want to beat up my egg just a little bit before I add it in there. I'll go ahead and dump my cornmeal mix in, and like I said, anything that you can make breadcrumbs out of, or you can buy pre-made breadcrumbs. I've got a little bit of liquid here, and what I'm using is a tablespoon of lemon juice. If you don't have lemon juice, that's okay. You could use maybe a tablespoon of pickle juice, which would give it a lot of flavor. Or you don't have to have anything like that at all. You can leave a little bit more of the liquid in your tuna. But some lemon juice does add a lot of flavor, and lemon goes really good with fish. I have about 1/4 of a small onion here that I chopped up really fine. You don't have to add this, but it does add a lot of flavor. You can add peppers to it, any kind of peppers that you wanted to. Green onions would work good. Just whatever you have. That's the great thing about fritters. As long as you got that egg and you got that breading and you have something, the main part of your fritter, you can just add stuff to it. To season mine with, I also have a little bit of a green spice, which is kind of like an Italian spice. And I've got just like a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. You can add anything you want to in this, or nothing but salt and pepper. If you have a spice you like, you can use it as long as it would taste good with fish. That's kind of the only rule. And do it to taste, because all seasoning should be to taste. And I also have a little bit of Parmesan cheese here. You certainly don't have to add that, and you could add any cheese, like some pepper jack or something would be really good in this. Maybe just a little bit of shredded cheddar cheese would be good in it. Just whatever you got, or nothing at all. It's just something to add a little bit of flavor. And then you just mix it up. And I'm saying use whatever spices you have, because I remember Melinda telling me right after she left home, she found a recipe that she really, really wanted to try. And she said one of the ingredients was some kind of spice. I don't remember what it was. But she went out and she bought the spice to make this particular recipe. And just the spice alone was like $17. Well, with things being the way they are, to spend $17 on a spice to go in a tuna cake or a tuna fritter where you're trying to make dinner for less than $1 a person, that's not going to work. So look through your spice cabinet and use what you have. I mean, just a little onion powder and garlic powder would work fine. And you could add a little hot sauce in here. Okay, and that's all there is to it. You just mix up the ingredients for your fritter. Now, if you have problems with your fritters falling apart, leave them sitting. Mix it up and let it sit for just a few minutes before you start frying it. That's why they're falling apart. Kind of press them all together there pretty good. And we are going to divide this up. You want to get your pan really, really hot. You could serve these, maybe make some steamed rice or some pasta to go with them. Still fairly inexpensive. You could also do French fries or fried potatoes. Maybe do some steamed vegetables, or if it's summertime when you're watching this video, use some fresh vegetables, tomatoes, cucumbers, just anything out of the garden. And if you're not a gardener, this would be a really good year to try a few plants, even if all you have is a little bit of room in a window or by a patio or something. Just some cherry tomatoes and stuff, because there are so many things that you cannot get in stores right now. And everything is so expensive. If you can just supplement the food you have a little bit with fresh stuff. Squash is really easy to grow, and you can add squash into other foods to make them stretch farther. And also breaded squash fried is absolutely delicious. We've got some really simple recipes up for that. When that time comes and you're getting squash out of your garden, there is nothing better than fresh fried squash. So, you know, think about starting a few plants. Now is the time. I think we're just about at the last frost here. So I've got to get some stuff in the ground here pretty quick. I'm not going to have time this year for a huge garden, but I am definitely going to do a little bit because of the shortages. And, you know, we're kind of being told to expect this to continue. And it's always nice if you have a little extra so you can share it with somebody and be somebody else's blessing. I'm just going to put a little bit in my pan so I can kind of keep an eye on how hot my pan is, which it's not hot yet. We've got no bubbles. Okay, my little test piece there is starting to bubble, so I can start adding my fritters into the pan. Now, this will make 4 good size fritters, something that you could put on a hamburger bun if you wanted to. So you can kind of divide it up before you start frying it so that they're close to even. Another way you can do it too is you can fry them really small so that they're kind of like a finger food. And I am going to use my hands to kind of shape these just a little bit because these are pretty wet. You can do little bitty spoonful size fritters and serve them like finger food. And they would be good if you were doing something where you were having lunch and tea out on the porch or something this summer. I mean, just because things are getting kind of tight and super expensive, that shouldn't be a reason for us to quit gathering together and spending time with each other and, you know, having get-togethers. We'll just make stuff that's not quite so expensive when we get together. And be careful when you're adding these to your pan because that grease is hot and it could pop a little bit. Alex said she likes the little ones way better than she likes the big ones. There's more crunch to them, I guess. And each big patty, what I do is I divide it up into about 4 spoon-sized ones. If you're a regular viewer, you know that I never divide stuff up very even. Not unless I use some sort of a scoop to measure it with. By the time I get these little ones all in there, that big one's going to be ready to turn. Go ahead and rotate it a little bit so it cooks even. So anything that you season these with or that you add into them, just kind of tailor it to suit the taste of the folks you're cooking for or to suit your own taste. And you can really put anything in them that will go with fish. I mean, when you're getting ready to make yours, just go in your kitchen and when you're looking for seasonings or spices and try to think of what you would like with fish. And that's what you want to add to this. You can serve them, especially these little ones, with a little tartar sauce or some kind of cocktail sauce, even ketchup if you wanted to. Alex likes them with sour cream. They're good with sour cream. I think they might even be good with something like marinara sauce, especially if you used some sort of Italian seasoning in them. So, you know, get creative. That's a big part of what cooking cheap is about. It's being creative with what you have. Dig through that spice cabinet all the way to the back of it and see what you've got in there that you can spice things up with and season them. Just to add a little something extra to it. Now, as long as this continues, this little situation that we're in, we're going to continue to, at least once a month, put up one of these really inexpensive meals. We might try to get up 2 of them a month if we possibly can, because I know how hard it is. I raised a family on very, very, very little money. There were times, well, anyway, everybody who's raised a family has had times, most likely, where it was hard to put food on the table. So we're going to continue to do these things to kind of help you stretch your budget, to help you stretch what you have, to help you get creative with it so you're not eating the same thing over and over and over again. I know kids love hot dogs, but they're only going to eat them so many nights a week. We're going to do some more tuna recipes. We're going to do some more hot dog recipes. And we're going to do some more recipes with pork loin, because that is right now about the cheapest meat you can possibly get. So as long as y'all keep commenting on these and you want to see them, we're going to continue with them. Like I said, at least once a month. We will do our best to get up 2 really cheap meals a month. These just take a minute to cook. They're actually almost already done. And I would say maybe 4 or 5 minutes per side will do it. You can cook them in about 10 minutes. You do want to make sure they're nice and crisp. The only thing raw in them is the egg, and eggs cook fairly fast. So you don't have to cook them for a real long time. You do want to get them nice and golden brown and crisp, and you want to drain them on something. You can drain them on a rack or on paper towels. It's up to you. Now, you can fry these in just about any kind of fat. I used some sort of vegetable oil. I'm not even sure what it was. You can do something fancy like olive oil if you have it. This is a good use for your leftover bacon grease, or you can put a little bit of leftover bacon grease in it to give it that flavor, and that will add a lot of flavor to it. You can cook them in butter. Just like I said, any kind of fat you've got will work to cook these in. And different fats have different flavors. That's all there is to it, and it really just takes a minute to cook them. And you can see how this would make a really nice sandwich if you put it on a bun. Or you could serve it, like I said, with pasta or rice or fried potatoes or just about anything. Some fresh vegetables, some steamed vegetables. Gosh, I don't know, just anything at all that would go with fish you can put with this. And you can top it any way you want to. These little ones would be great for like a lunch get together where you were just having maybe some sweet tea and some snacks and some finger foods and sitting around and fellowshipping and socializing with your friends on the back porch this summer. And they don't cost hardly anything to make. Literally the tuna and the egg are the only thing that you should have to purchase. The rest of it would just be stuff in the kitchen that you would have that you would throw into them. Any breadcrumbs will work. So give these a try. Get a little creative with it. Add stuff to it to suit your taste. Season it with anything you can season fish with. I want to leave y'all with Matthew 11:28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest. I think more than any time that I could remember in my life, our nation and our entire world is really heavy laden, and we are in desperate need of rest. And I want you to know that that rest is there. God is waiting for you. All you have to do is call on Him. And I want to tell you that if God has blessed you so that you have an abundance, please be somebody else's blessing, because there are so many right now who are in need. And because the world is in such a state of need, it truly is our time as Christians to show God's love. So make sure somebody can see God's love in you. Thank you so much for joining us in the Hillbilly Kitchen. If you haven't already, please don't forget to click like and subscribe before you leave. And until next time, remember to put God first.